I love Mass Effect because it is the best action RPG game I've played ever. That period. Like,
Mass Effect is probably one of my favorite RPG series of all time.
I love Mass Effect for the complex characters, the narrative repercussions, the incredibly banging soundtrack, and of course all that alien booty.
name me a better game than Mass Effect right now. Right now. Exactly. You can't.
That includes Mass Effect Andromeda, by the way.
What?
What's going on, people, and welcome back to my channel. Now, you could have been anywhere else in the world right now, but you are with me and I appreciate that. Now, I go by the name of Mr. Midas, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe because we are working towards that 1.5. Now, anyone who's been here before knows I am about that JRPG life. I love role-playing games, and I've got more and more into Western RPGs. But one of the biggest RPGs out that I completely missed was Mass Effect. Now, wait. Don't go anywhere, calm down, because I've collated a team of great experts who love Mass Effects, who are gonna talk to me about the game, why it's so great, and why I need it in my life. Prime Tales from Four Eyes Academia. Nerds from the UK discussing all things gaming, anime, pop culture, and more. Alex from Backlog, where they discover video games and the love of their gaming hobby. Ross from Gamer Tag Media, who is all about playing games with positive vibes and gaming attitude. So let's get straight into it. There's no time for playing about. I need to know why Mass Effect is one of the greatest RPGs ever. What's going on, people? Like I said, I have collated the champions, the most important people in your life today, more important than your mom and dad right now, you know. That's how serious it is, because these are the Mass Effect champions. These are the Mass Effect leaders. These people have convinced me that no one likes Mass Effect more than them. Now, like I said to you at the beginning of the video, I haven't played Mass Effect. I'm the biggest JRPG guy, but I am so excited to get into this title. So we're gonna jump straight into it. Prime, why is Mass Effect so special?
Okay, do you know what it is, yeah? I think what makes Mass Effect so special is the storylines. I feel like every game has like branching storylines and storylines that have decisions. I feel like Mass Effect, there are real consequences, like from start to finish. If you don't get certain points, meet certain people, do certain things, then you're locked out of that, and that's it, that period.
I've heard so much about that. Now, gamers and dev teams always talk about branching paths, about, oh my goodness, if you do this, it's gonna do something different. And 9 times out of 10, it just changes if your suit is yellow or blue. But I've heard it in Mass Effect, like the decisions you make are so crucial. Is that something that's really important in the game, Ross?
100%. As Prime said, the biggest seller of this series is the storylines, the characters. And for me, it was the fact that it is probably the most ambitious RPG series that I think I played, easily that generation of the PS3, Xbox 360 generation. If you think about it, like the pitch was, the decisions you make in Mass Effect 1 will have repercussions in Mass Effect 3. So that's 3 games deep that you're continuing decisions and story arcs. That had never been done before. And the payoffs were monumental, heartbreaking, sad, and just incredible that the fact that BioWare managed to successfully pull it off across 3 games. And it's just stunning. Absolutely stunning.
Hey, you got me hyped, Ross. You're hyping me up. You're hyping me up. I'm not even gonna lie. Now, I've never played the games, and I'm not one of them. Like, I'm not like a over-the-top graphics, but I do not like when I don't like going back to super old games when they feel janky and stuff. So I've been waiting for a very long time for a remaster to come out. I've been like, I want this remaster to be made, this remake of the game to be made, because I really want to get into this experience. So I was super happy when they finally announced it. Been waiting for it. This was the time for me to get in. But Alex, as a fan of the series, how did you feel when you first saw that reaction trailer?
When I first saw that reaction trailer, I just couldn't believe my eyes, because like I've been waiting for this game to be remade for so long, and then hearing all the new features, like hearing that, oh man, Mass Effect is going to look better, the gameplay is going to be in line with the other two, it's like a dream come true. And I remember, you know, like playing Mass Effect 1 all the way to like, oh my gosh, like I think it was 6 a.m. and I had to go to work like in about like a few minutes and stuff like that, and I just kept playing. It actually called work, you know, for like a, you know, like a sick day and stuff like that. And I think, you know, thankfully I'm now a content creator on YouTube, so I don't have to do that, but I'm gonna be there day one, just like playing it maybe the same way. Maybe I'm gonna do it for 24 hours, who knows. I'm just really stoked that the conversation about it is back.
That is some real so Prime, like, you've played this game, you've gone through it, you've gone through the relationships, the discussions, you've built your character, you've gone through this whole experience. Why do you want to do it again?
I went through that experience on the PS2. I have the PS5, PS2, PS3. I have the PS5 now. So, I mean, there's a brand new scope for, you know, graphics, yeah, bare minimum. That's not a problem. I've played so many RPGs, JRPGs, action RPGs since then, and not one has had a story with individual characters that weigh up in the, like, to Mass Effect, like, ever. Like, I tried to play Andromeda and I didn't feel like that hit the same sort of heights. The original Mass Effect trilogy, oh mate, honestly, I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
I love it. So Ross, so this game is special. The thing that makes RPGs special are usually the stories and the characters. Like 9 times out of 10, when you ever hear a fan of JRPGs or Western RPGs talk about RPGs, they really talk about those characters, why they meant so much to them, and the story and why it meant so much to them. And then combat and stuff like that is always kind of secondary. So my question's in 2 parts, and I'm going to ask everyone this, but we're going to start with Ross. What is it, or what character in the game is really special to you? And are you worried that it's going to feel really old in 2021 when you've played all of these new kind of games, like Returnal's out, and the shooting mechanics and stuff in Returnal are really fast, and what it's doing with the haptic feedback? Are you scared that that game is going to feel like a very old game?
Right, so I'll answer the second part first then. So mechanics wise, I'm less concerned about the mechanics feeling old and a little bit janky, because Mass Effect 2 and 3 really nailed the third person shooting mechanics, and they're going back and they're modernizing Mass Effect 1 to bring that up to par, and it's going to feel really good. So I'm less concerned about that. So for part 1 of your question, the characters, man, there are so many that are just brilliantly written, acted, realized, and their story arcs are so powerful and shocking and revelatory as well. But I would say my top 2 are Mordin Solus, who is a scientist character. I won't go into any details, but his story arc, he's introduced in Mass Effect 2, and the revelations from Mass Effect 3 for his story arc are just incredible, like mind-blowing incredible. And depending on which way you play, as a renegade or a paragon, it can be incredibly heartbreaking and shocking, but also just empowering and uplifting as well. And I'd probably say my other character that I absolutely loved is, my other 2 characters that I loved, I would say Liara Tassoni and Tali Zora, Vas Normandy is probably my other character, because their arcs are just so well written. So I'm not afraid about revisiting them in 2021, considering the competition that's out there with new games. I just can't wait to spend more time with these characters again and revisit those heartbreaking storylines.
You know, like, I asked him about one character, but he loved the game so much, he listed about 19 people in it, you know. This is how much this game means to him. Like, he can't give me one character. It's like someone asking me about Final Fantasy and I'm telling them about 19 characters. Alex, same question to you.
So as far as I'm concerned, I love Tally. I love Tally. I love Liara as well. But I have to represent my wife and the millions of other people who play the game and say Garrus as well. So many people on Twitter talk about like how they romanced Garrus in the game and had a great relationship throughout the series. And I just can't not mention that because he's such a memorable character, and in the way the games introduce him to the player and stuff, it's been really fascinating just seeing his progression through the series as well. As far as your other question, I'm not really concerned about the gameplay because I'm one of the few people who actually really enjoyed Mass Effect Andromeda. So, if I can get through that game, like I'll be okay replaying one of my favorite trilogies of all time. So
Alex,
I think that pretty much sums it up.
Let me cut you. Not one of the few, the only person. It was just you who enjoyed the gameplay of Andromeda. There's nobody else out there with you. If you were with him, mention in the comments, but I think it's just Alex who liked that game. I'm only joking with you. Prime, same question to you, my G.
I'm Joyce. I agree with everyone. I think there's so many characters, but my personal favorite was Jack, and purely because like she represents me in terms of like the anarchist vibe, but like a little bit of a softie at the core. Like they push her in one kind of view, and you like go through the game, and unless you kind of go through those kind of companion building moments, you wouldn't really know much about her other than that she is like seems like some sort of off the hinge, off the edge sort of person. But as you kind of build on her story and kind of like her bond with Shepard, man, like Jack is my favorite, man.
And how you feeling about how the game's gonna feel and play in like modern day?
Sure, I'm not too worried about that. I think I'm a big fan of the way it plays. I think it set my kind of expectations for many games going beyond that. Like the cover system, the original RPG kind of a level up system, the powering system, like the different kind of core bases you can have from like Vanguard through to Biotic, like all these things are really kind of like important. I don't think I'm going to be stuck on like, oh my God, like the shooting sticky and stuff like that. That's not really like, I'm here for the story and the RPG elements of it essentially.
Alright, so I'm a Persona man, yeah? Love me some Personas, love me some waifus, love me some romancing, you get me? Like, I'm about that life. And one of the things I've always heard about Mass Effect is how well the romance elements have done. So this is another one I'm going to throw at all of you. I'm going to start with Prime. Starting with man like Prime, you get me? And then sophisticated dons over there. I'm starting with you. How is the dating in it? Is it just like this is just corny and people are just trying to date a robot for the sake of it, or do they actually delve into this in a great way?
I think the romantic choices are interesting the way they're kind of put towards you, but I think you then kind of start to buy into that character a lot more because they don't seem like, the same sort. You can do this with every single person. The interaction will be the exact same sort of thing. It seems like your bond with certain characters like greatly changes depending on your romantic level with them. And, the way you go about those romantic relations is really interesting. Like, even like you said, from, romancing the AI, it just sounds absolutely nuts. But you kind of start to think, maybe not so much, you know what I mean?
You start preying the aliens and them thing there, yeah?
You start thinking, maybe maybe I can talk to an AI for the rest of my life.
Ross, how do you feel about the romance elements in the Mass Effect games?
Yeah, they were handled pretty well, or about as well as they can be for a video game romance story arc. What I liked about it is it made you work for it. You had to really delve into the character relationship between your Shepard, whether it be male Shepard or female Shepard, and you had to really establish a relationship. You had to help them out with their backstory, and you began to form a bond that starts out as a kind of trust, then to friendship, and then to potentially a romance option. And the way it juggles all of the relationships, the interaction between you and the other crew members versus taking a side with the one you want to romance has implications as well. So I think it probably did the best that it possibly could because of the fact that you're romancing a video game character. So it's never going to be entirely realistic, but I think they did a pretty good job.
Alex, how was you feeling about your alien romancing?
So first of all, as a Persona guy myself, I don't know if you can see that like poster back there, Persona 4. I've always felt that BioWare is a company that can blend some of the character development of Japanese RPGs with the sensibilities of Western RPGs. And as far as like the romances go, I feel like I'm kind of with Ross that they've taken it as far as they could. There are, I'm not going to be too specific, but there are scenes that might feel a bit dated because of the way that they animated it, but like I really adore that they tried their best to kind of portray these characters as realistic as possible. Like there is a reason why so many men and women out there are in love with Garrus, for example. I have to bring that up again because it's not like other games where it's just a journey through one game. This is a story that carries through all 3 games, that remembers every single decision you ever made, this time with one save file. And whatever you do in the past, they'll definitely remember. I mean, they've been doing like Telltale Games, like decision system for like a very long time, even if you go back further from Mass Effect. And I think, I think the more you kind of let yourself go to the game and stuff, let the game kind of immerse you with each characters and stuff, I think you'll get a lot out of it back. You'll really learn who they are and really fall in love with all of them eventually.
So that's super dope, and I would like to kind of lead off on that. So Ross, like this is a series, so even though it's a re-release, it's not just one game. This is a 3-part series that are all connected, and as gamers, like we've always got so much games to play, and JRPGs and RPGs in any form are very daunting for a lot of people. Like when people heard The Witcher Wild Hunt was over 100 hours, people are like, don't know if I got time for that. Is this game too daunting for a newbie? Like being able to play these 3 games back to back, because remember, you've played this over generations, over time. Is this a bit too much of a daunting task for someone who's new to the series?
I wouldn't say so, because the style in which the gameplay and everything is all set up is much more of a action adventure style of RPG, but with deep narrative mechanics behind it. So it's not the 100-200 hours of a Skyrim or a Witcher 3. It moves at quite a fair clip, and you could easily beat each game in about 20 hours, but you could spend 40 to 60 hours doing some other side activities as well, whether it's bobbing around in the Mako or scanning planets from Mass Effect 2. They could do a lot of like side activities as well. So you could move fairly quickly through them, and it would be a bit of a whirlwind for sure, but it would be a roller coaster and a half, and it would keep you constantly moving and constantly motivated to uncover the next story beat. So I don't think it would be a fatigue setting in or a collectathon fatigue setting in at all, because the story and the way in which those set pieces hit you move at a reasonable clip. So I wouldn't worry about that if you're daunted by a 100-hour experience. I mean, yes, 3 games combined could easily reach nearly 100 hours, but it's not going to be a Persona type experience where you can feel exhausted of 90 to 100 hours of just the one game necessarily.
Fam, I platinum Persona 5 Royal. That was like 150 hours of my life. One game. 150 hours gone. Prime, do you know one thing that really interests me about this series? Shepard is actually a create your own character. So you're creating your own character, which is dope because you can have as much representation as you want. You can choose to be a male or female. You can choose your skin tone, all of that. And I think that's super dope. But I always find sometimes when it comes to create your own character games, there's a bit of a disconnect with the character because the character doesn't have as much personality because they're mainly like a blank canvas, where, like I spoke about it before, someone like Geralt from The Witcher or someone like Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII has lots of character. But when I hear people talk about Shepard, they don't talk about Shepard in that same light. They don't talk about it in the way as this character's like dry cardboard, just no walls and no paint, like just dry. Why is Shepard so intriguing and interesting, considering that it is a character that you're actually creating yourself?
It's really hard to answer that question without spoiling it too much, but I'm gonna do my best to kind of like keep it succinct and not avoid spoilers. Shepard is the leader of it's basically the band of miscreants. Like, that's the easiest way to put it. Like, Shepard is your typical like set out on a journey, here's your story adventure, and you can say like Cloud or any of these kind of like notable RPG characters have that sort of band. But I think with such a good supporting cast, you need an equally good leader. And Shepard, create your own character, doesn't matter. The voice acting for both male and female Shepard is unreal. I think there's like the character, the conversational elements, especially with decisions that I'm making, like they feel like you are saying that like they're proper, either they're absolutely obscene, they're somewhat like tongue-in-cheek, that like the statements are statements, like they seem like, actually, maybe I can get away with saying that myself, sort of thing. So I feel like the conversation is very realistic and almost human-like to a degree. But then Shepard, in the way they carry themselves, the character carries themselves, be you completely, you know, good or evil, like it starts to take its toll in the kind of like the dialogue options you're given throughout the story. And I think that's why Shepard is taken and spoken about separately, most to kind of like when compared to like your average create your own character kind of main character.
If you lot are not gassed about this game already, I don't know what's going on with you, because I'm not even gonna lie, like they've got me proper excited. So we've spoken about the story, we've spoken about the characters and why they're so important. But one thing that's really interesting to me as a gamer is the world. Like, I love being lost in Hyrule. Like, Hyrule is such an incredible place for me to be. I could spend as much time there as possible. I wanted to go to Japan my whole life, so being able to go be in Tokyo, in Persona is great. We're out in space, fam. We're doing the final frontier and them thing there. Alex, talk to me about this world. Like, why is this world so intriguing?
I think the reason why is because BioWare had a mission, and you know, like I'm really into like following developers, and I remember at the very beginning BioWare started talking about wanting to make their own Star Wars. And you know, like if you hear that, it's like it's such a huge deal. Like, how the hell are you able to do that? And then when the first Mass Effect came, like that's when you realized it. Because, you know, when you really kind of dial it down, it's like it's all about the people that you meet, the races, the interactions, and the story and the plights of all these individual people in these different planets and stuff. And the more you do side quests, the more you do, the more you meet a lot of people in these worlds, you really kind of start feeling for their plight, and you want to, you want to do the best for them. And you know what I really love about Mass Effect is like that feeling that you're traveling from world to world, and because you're traveling across vast distances, it's such an incredibly different experience than any other RPG out there. Like, I can't really, describe it. Like, even now, like when I think about it, from when the last Mass Effect, was released to now, like I can't think of like any experience that can match the experience I had when exploring Mass Effect's worlds.
Super dope. I love the passion from all of you, and I love how really excited you are about this title. And think, for me, could you imagine, like, I'm an RPG guy through and through, and I'm going to be able to experience this for the first time with all of the battle mechanics the same as it was in 2 and 3, and the up-res. Like, this is a really great experience for me. And there's many people like me who are going to be brand new gamers who are experiencing this for the first time. So we're just going to do a quick round robin really shortly. I just want you to all just be able to express why you feel like new players should be able to get into this game, what they're going to get out of it. So just really briefly, nothing too long. We're going to start with Ross, then we'll go with Prime, and we'll wrap up with Alex.
So for me, it's the conversation system. Prior to Mass Effect coming out, RPGs were the line of dialogue, which you repeat, and then you get a response from your NPCs. The conversation in this introduced a conversation wheel, which was far more nuanced.
and it was more about you steering a conversation rather than spewing a line verbatim, and that shaped RPGs going forward. It changed the game entirely. So for me, it's all about the conversation system. It was such a revelation at its time, and it still feels fresh today because BioWare were the pioneers. They've tried to copy it, other developers have tried to copy it, but nobody has really nailed it like BioWare.
I love that way. It changed the game. That's almost like what you get in a tagline when people put in a poster thing. Dope. Prime.
For me, I think it's the characters. I think there's such a vast amount of characters, be they small or major, like, you know, absolute crew members. It's every single interaction you have in the game either is meaningful or you'll take away some form of enjoyment. And I mean, when you play RPGs, like, you can play many RPGs and get like, characters that you kind of speak to, you know, didn't take anything from this. And I feel like this game, every conversation feels just as important as any other conversation.
Dope. Alex, do you want to round us out?
Yeah, for sure. So Mass Effect to me is an experience unlike any other. Being able to explore all these worlds across galaxies is phenomenal. Meeting all these different races that some of them actually feel that have, you know, some of their issues kind of like feel quite familiar to our plights right now. You know, it's very interesting, kind of blown that up in an almost like galactic level. And I've always kind of really cared about like every single race, every single character, and every single storyline that I had to experience through the game. Even the villains, like I even can see where they're coming from. And there's not a lot of RPGs that do that for people. And and yes, there are other games that allow you to traverse space and explore the worlds and stuff like that, but there's nothing out there like Mass Effect. There really isn't.
Love it. Thank you all for your time. Like, it's so interesting to hear this game from different people's perspectives, and especially someone like me who's excited for the game, who's never even experienced it. And I know how beloved this title is, so I'm really appreciate you lot giving us your time. Make sure you go and give them all a follow, show them some love, and let me know in the comments below how excited you are for this game. Like, is this game really important to you? Has it been a game that's really dictated you as a gamer, or you just like me, you've heard about it on the grapevine and you can't wait to get in? Now, they have been all incredible. I've been Mr. Midas. Make sure you hit that subscribe. We're working towards that 1.5, and we out. Peace.